Please be seated. I got a present. Thank you, Sharon. So, several weeks ago, more than a month ago, we set up our preaching schedule, and it never occurred to me that November 10th would be the first Sunday after the election. And it also never occurred to me that there would be so much distress after the election. I frankly didn't expect things to turn out the way they did. And they did. And I got a lot of calls this week from people who were very unhappy and wondering, what do we do now? How did this happen? Where do we go from here? And I called Cammie, because Cammie was those many, at least 6 weeks ago when we set up this preaching schedule, Cammie was the one who volunteered for this day. And I said, Cammie, I think I might need to say something. And we talked for a while, and I decided that it is more important to me to have a woman in the pulpit than for me to have my say on this day. And I asked Cammie to continue with the given schedule, but I also told her I was going to take a little time at the beginning because I can, and here we are. Today is the second week, the second Sunday in our stewardship campaign, and the theme of that campaign is Walk in Love. And we had our luncheon last week, and we've had many of you have signed up for the dinners that we're doing in people's homes. This campaign, this Walk in Love campaign, is not something that is aspirational. By that, what I mean is we're not hoping someday to walk in love together. We're not pointing to a future when we will somehow walk in love together. Rather, it is an expression of who we are. It is an expression of what we do as followers of Jesus in community and in worship together and in service in the world around us. We walk in love. And it turns out that may just be the best answer to the questions, what do we do now? That may just be the best answer to the question, what do we make of all of this? What we do now is we follow Jesus and we walk in love. Now, I've already heard Cammie's sermon because this is our second service. And you're in for a treat because what she has to say is an illustration of this truth. What she has to say is an unfolding of this truth that we walk in love. And that's how we will enter into the world together. And it will be more important than ever that we learn to do this together. And so, Cammie, thank you.
I'm vertically challenged, so I will stand in the pulpit. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be always acceptable in your sight, our strength and our Redeemer. Help us to follow Jesus. Amen. Good morning. Now, I don't know about you, but my mind and life have been filled with too much noise, too many words, a roller coaster of emotions. Let's take a moment to be still. Settle yourselves. Uncross your legs. Sit up as straight as you can. Take a breath slowly. Hold it for a few counts. Let it out slowly. Do this a couple of times. Say to yourself, be still. Be still. Be still. Know that I am with you. Our call for now, as always, is the invitation and commitment to walk in love. Today's readings included the courage shown by Ruth to follow Naomi, the generosity of the widow as opposed to the posturing of those with power. Many of Jesus' lessons deal with the damage done by those with power. As we walk through our lives, how might we call upon our own courage, our own generosity, our own gifts? We're here to continue, in the words of Micah chapter 6, to do justice and love kindness, and to walk humbly with our God. In these tumultuous times of hateful rhetoric and even actions, how might we spread love to ourselves as much as to others? I'm reminded of a story I read this week. It's a metaphor for recognizing and choosing the lens in which we see the world. Sometimes a metaphor says it best. This teaching is echoed through the ages by many wisdom teachers, by many traditions and sources. The one I read this week comes from a scene attributed to an indigenous elder. The elder is saying to a seeker, "Inside of us are two wolves. One is gray, one is black. They are at war inside of us to direct our choices and actions. The black one is full of hatred, judgment, divisions, and blame. The gray one is full of forgiveness, kindness, compassion, generosity." The listener asks, "Which one wins, Father?" His reply, "The one you feed." Jesus used the metaphor of the garden, encouraging us to water the good seeds. We can choose to listen to what Abraham Lincoln called the better angels of our nature. Richard Rohr, a Franciscan, reminds us to recognize the positive flow of thoughts and actions as they come to us and distinguish them from the negative resistance within ourselves. It can take years, if not a lifetime. A voice comes from accusation and leads to accusation. It is quite simply the voice of the accuser, which is the literal meaning of the biblical word Satan. Richard continued, "Shaming, accusing, or blaming is simply not how God talks. But sadly, it's too often how we talk, to ourselves and to one another. God is love. We are created in love, unconditionally. This includes everyone, not just those we agree with. At the same time, we are called to speak up against injustice, to hold people accountable for the harm they've done. Despite being created by God in love, some people do not walk that path. Also from Richard Rohr's Center for Action and Contemplation came this message from Brian McLaren. He invites us to practice revolutionary love. Revolutionary love means loving as God would love, infinitely, graciously, extravagantly. It means loving with God, letting divine love fill us and flow through us. Let us not return hateful words and actions with more hate. We can consciously, intentionally frame the lens in which we walk this world. We can set aside the them and us mentality. Father David reminds us that all are welcome here. His adult forums today and next week are on forgiveness, certainly a good place to heal our world. Solidarity and unity are open to us. We can work at healing brokenness, listening to other points of view, treating each other with respect. Leo Buscaglia reminds us, too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. It's overwhelming to consider the continuous opportunities there are to make our love felt. Which wolf will you listen to? Will you feed? I'll close with a prayer by Shaylin Harkin. When the earth shakes. It's when the earth shakes and foundations crumble that our light is called to rise up. It's when everything falls away and shakes us to the core and awakens all of our hidden ghosts that we dig deeper to find once inaccessible strength. It's in times when division is fierce that we must reach for each other and hold each other much, much tighter. Do not fall away now. This is the time to rise. Your light is being summoned. Your integrity is being tested, that it may stand more tall. When everything collapses, we must find within us that which is indomitable. Rise and find the strength in your heart. Rise and find the strength in your heart. In each other, burn through your devastation. Make it your fuel. Bring forth your light. Now is not the time to be afraid of the dark. Amen.